day to you. Today I want to consider a topic that we have all heard about the harvest of life. So the common thing is we say what we sow we reap. Usually it is said in the context of something not good. So we think the consequences will be evil, and okay, shall we start off? Consequences will be evil, and it is thought of as not a good thing. But today we want to look at the other side of sowing and reaping, the good side, that you always have expectation of the best of your life season, of your life journey. So here I title it, is it happenstance, coincidence, or destiny? This is what I want to get into. When life is a harvest, I would like seed begets fruit. So always there's the initiation, navigation, good reward, and then successful conclusion and good reward. Initiation, navigation, successful conclusion and good reward. That's how we are designed for by the great designer. That's how we are designed. So sow and reap is a universal law, but so life is about a bag of seed that we have got, then the time, then the place, our placement. Time would be the activation, and then the space, your seed, bag of seed, how much seed you have, and the nature of seed, both the quality and the quantity, will decide your space of life occupation. Then your relationships, you can't forget them, your connections, and some are God ordained and arranged. Don't misfire them, don't lose them. And then the opportunity, which produces the harvest. So the seed bag you got. Now parents contribute, life training contribute, above all God has given. Then the time of activation. So every season has a time of activation. Life goes from season to season, sowing to sowing, harvest to harvest. Time of activation, so don't miss it. Your placement, it may change, it may be lowly, it may be very visible. The space is the sphere of influence you get, how much. Then the relationships that need to continue for your harvest to be good and enduring, productive in all seasons. If you rupture relationships, marriage or children or other relationships, you go through a barren season. So barren season don't just come. It is not some unpredictable astrological thing. It is how you have dealt with the resources you now have. Then the opportunity, the opportune time, then the harvest. So this is about a complete list. I'm not saying it's a fully complete list, but it is a reasonably comprehensive list with which we can work together with what you may get in your life season. The story may have to begin with, in the womb, mom and dad gave you that life season, and then your womb time is also an important season, and that what they supplied, then the baby in the womb, baby born, but baby time in the womb is also a very important life season. Thirdly, God thinks the baby is the most important fruit or harvest for any two people. So be fruitful, multiply is the God connect. Be fruitful, multiply is the God connect. And then we have 1 minute. Then we have the 1 minute. Yeah. Womb time. God thinks the baby is the most important fruit or harvest for any two. Be fruitful, multiply, fill what God has designed you to fill. So I work with the God factor. And then be fruitful, multiply, fill, then steward what others have who are in relationship with you. And then be fruitful, multiply, steward, and take authority over the things that can ruin your harvest. That you have to do also. Fruit or harvest for any two. God keeps the world running for the next baby to be born. That's how important live births are. So I did the Armageddon thing, the Fourth World War, as Einstein envisaged. He said the Third World War, he does not know with what weapons it will be fought. It will be such a holocaust and all kinds of nuclear weapons. But he said the Fourth World War will be fought with sticks and stones, because humanity will be down to the ground. That's what he said. But I am using his expression Fourth World War as one that has already started against life. So every abortion is murder. And when babies have no place in the world, or putting it this way, if more than 50% of live births are destroyed by mankind, then God will say, why should I run the world for murder? You get the point? That's the problem. Yes. The fourth point, therefore, womb time is first season of life. Make it as good as possible for yourself, and make it as good as possible for your progeny. Don't neglect the womb time. It's a season of life, and that life produced in the womb time, if scarred or marred, will have long-term consequences. So how we are conceived, early germination has influence over our growth, at least in the first 14 years of life. So the womb time will, I shouldn't say decide, but will greatly influence the first 14 years of your child's life, and of course early bonding. And those 14 years is all you parents have for whatever that child is going to be in the future. And we have to tell our children that season of, so this is about harvest, so harvest has you remember, harvest has the seed bag, time of activation, the placement. So the best placement, the first placement is the parents, their life. God places life in life. Placement, then space of influence, sphere. The space means how much your seed bag will expand. Be fruitful, multiply, fill, expand. Yes, steward others and take authority over the things that will go against your inheritance. So that is the opportunity and the harvest that is coming. So womb time is the first season of time. If life is a tree, how we are conceived and early germination has influence over the growth. Attend on womb time as carefully as you can. Now we can't tell that to the baby, we'll have to tell that to the parents. Fifthly, the grand old designer, G-O-D, God, moves from season to season, sowing to sowing. What you lose in one season is difficult to catch up. Not impossible, but it will need a divine intervention. Now, some of you may not believe in divine intervention. Then you'll have to sweat it. It will be blood, sweat, toils, tears, thorns, all kinds of things. But what got lost, or what got misplaced, what got missed, went out of trajectory, is recoverable, but that is called redemption. Restoration. That language belongs in a divine order. Redemption, someone else pays the price. Restoration, someone gives you a second chance. So I want to suggest at this point that there is a Lord of the harvest. So choice is yours, whether you do simple lowercase LORD and you be the Lord of all you survey, the monarch of all you survey, or you acknowledge there's someone from whom the seed bag came. The choice is yours. As for me, when I was 17 and a half, and I had become first in the island in the A-level examination in Sri Lanka, doing botany, zoology, chemistry and physics, believing Darwin thoroughly and completely for struggle for existence, survival of the fittest. It suited me fine because I was fit enough to become the first in that examination, and I continued to be batch top in every examination in the Faculty of Medicine, Colombo. But in between, a great change came to me. I said, it looks as if when my brain is getting brilliant, my heart is getting tougher and harsher and harder and becoming hard ground, no good for any seed. That's where the change came for me. I don't know how the change will come for you. So my point here is this, that you either be Lord of your harvest, you are the big Lord, you are the king of all you survey, or else there is a Lord of the harvest, the one who gave the seed bag. So that's a major convictional orientation. You have to decide for yourself. Others can't coerce you into it. You have to decide. So at this point I am saying, if you miss a season, catch up is possible, but that will need the language of redemption, restoration, which has to do with grace and mercy. That is not language that the world knows, isn't it? What do you think? Does the world have grace and mercy, or the world have justices and law? And what do you practice? The problem is that when we are at the butt end of a bear growling at us, we say mercy, mercy. But then we get the chance to be the bear, either the way we drive on the road or we treat small people, and then we growl and then others mourn. So this is how the world goes on, correct? Yes. But this is not how it was designed. Sixth point, one seed bag is all that you get for life. Do not lose any of the seed. Some seeds may be one for lifetime. This I want to emphasize. Even your virginal purity, boy or girl, is to be an investment for a lifelong covenant. Sexual contact marks you forever. In recent times, Sri Lanka has had a host of very brutal, murderous, bloodletting events. And when it was reported that there was a headless body and some man dumped it, and it was a lady's body, 200 people called saying, my daughter is gone off home and we don't know where, or a husband called saying, I don't know where my wife is, could it be the body of my wife? When one incident became public, 200 telephone calls in the first day came through, saying, can it be the one I lost? What a tragedy, isn't it? So the point is this, sexual contact marks forever. Do not be casual. We can't say this enough for the younger generation. Do not be casual. Sexual marks cut deep, almost irrevocably, almost. So commit your sexual purity to one and only faithful in lifelong covenant. I took a little time for this old-fashioned wisdom in a bit of a scientific talk. So here is the equation. Seed bag is the seed bag is certainly parental contribution. You got it from their genome, but there was also a grand old designer who always adds a bonus beyond what parents can give. That is the God's scope. He adds more than what our parents can give. He takes the best of the parents, and then for whatever deficit our parents create, wittingly, unwittingly in our life, there is a bonus giver. He wants to work with that. So if we are the Lord of our own harvest, if I am the Lord of my harvest, I have only myself. But if I acknowledge another Lord for the harvest, then the good shepherd, then we have his help, his wisdom interacting with our life. So the seed bag, then the time of activation for each season is important for marriage or for studies. The first 5 years are the habit forming years. So please form good habits, and best habits are formed during feed time, eat time. So families sit together, and family that eats together might even stay together. Usual slogan is family that prays together stays together. Family that eats together is also very important. Recover as much as possible, as many as possible of eating times together at home. That's right. The best place outside is junk food. Sorry for saying that. Junk in the sense that time you give home time for home cooked meals is the best time. Best habits are formed around the home table. That's the time children have oxytocin and GABA for empathy, oxytocin for happiness, joy. That's the best time for learning processes, all good things. So first 5 years habit forming time. Of it, the first 3 years mother's bonding builds the young fellow's brain. That's it. That's how it happens. So mother bonding a lot, meaningfully, interactively, builds the brain and IQ. Then comes the father, of course, should be there. Then in 4, 5, 6 years, father comes in for competence, confidence, boundary setting, affirmation, all that is important. They do that together. So the activation times are critical in in your life, in a child's life. Then the placement in school, placement among few friends, placement among valuable activities, not too many stuff, and of course under the age of 3 don't give the digital screen at all. That is medical advice. And less digital screen and more analog, more language skills. Why am I doing this? Because that's the way you work with clay. Clay is better than plasticine. Creole is also very good. Shapes and so on. As the fingers understands shape, brain gathers language skills also. So I have often said this, working with choir rope, hang the ball and play some cricket with your son, or play cricket anyway outside, all the green grass, all that tactile sensation with friction, that develops the brain tracks for brilliance. So parent, please take care of your child in the first 5 years, and of course in the coming years also, because what you invest in 14 years is all the memory tracks they will have. IQ brilliance is dependent on brain can give potential, but train brain brilliant is my theme. And I have this book, Screen Smart, and training kids in a digital age. You can get this from Sarasavi Bookshop, Vijitayapa Bookshop, and our Brookside Bookshop, even online. Check it out. It has all the recent stuff. It's both academic and practical. Any parent can grasp it. All doctors and teachers should use it. Yes, I have it in all 3 languages that Sri Lanka uses, Sinhala, Tamil and English. Yes. So this is time of activation, then the placement in life, then comes the space of influence, how much you will influence. Fruitful, multiply, fill, how much you can fill. Now if you fill according to your seed bag, you will be satisfied. If you don't fill according to your seed bag, you will be dissatisfied, you will be frustrated fellow. Why? Because you did not cultivate the space that is available to you. Then you go all life frustrated. You become a gaseous, hot, speak-up person on social media, doing nothing much. So don't get into that mode, okay? Yeah. This is tough advice, speaking straight from my shoulder. This is about placement and space. Then relationships, they are precious. So in your harvest, relationships are involved, and this is how I view life. I think we are laborers or workmen launched by the Good Shepherd to be like Good Shepherd. Then the life is a journey of launch. Will you say with me? Launch. Life is a journey of launch. So there's a launch pad, the things that have been arranged for you, and there's the initiation, navigation, successful and conclusion. Well done, reward, motive, serotonin satisfied, dopamine did the driving, serotonin did the satiety, dopamine does salience, serotonin does satiety. That is, you're satisfied with what you did. That's how we need to grow. That's how we need to teach our children to grow. Season to season, this happens, initiation, activation of the season, and then the harvest time comes, which is called the reward time. Relationships are important. Don't lose them. They are very difficult to develop. So some people think they can have wealth without SQ, social quotient. They can have wealth without EQ, emotional quotient. That they can have wealth only with IQ, which now we know is not true. So keep your relationship, develop them, keep them lifelong as possible. Some are seasonal. Try your best not to fall out. Because we live in a world, use and abuse and discard. That's not the world God made, yes. That was made by some global dinosaurs who are all the time planning how to get what others have into their hands. So I have said this before. Please read my clip number 153 is English, 154 is English and Sinhala. The 12 changes that the world has gone through. So we are already in the 4th World War. And the third one, whether it's going to be nuclear or not, we'll have to see how the world is arranging itself. China has built the largest navy. They have overtaken the US Navy, which was superior for a long time and which held the balance of terror. Now there's an imbalance of terror. It is Field Marshal Montgomery at the conclusion of the Second World War who said, if you want peace, prepare for war. But he said some better things also. He said eternal vigilance is the cost of peace. That also he said. So anyway, the fact that Israel has lost their friend in US will also make them edgy. And this is just a little outside my today's topic, which is life of harvest or harvest of life. You can look at it both ways. So it is a little different from that, but it is. I want to add this. So Israel has done the first green certificate, so that if you have the vaccination, that then only you can go and do your job, business, and so on. Israel is the first country that has agreed to this global order. Other countries haven't implemented it. They are implementing it without saying so. It's strange that, so you can do a little research and see who is funding most of Israel's scientific patents. Whoever funds talks, isn't it? Money talks. So when Israel is doing the first green certificate on the COVID-19 vaccine, it is important to see through which gate, that's right, through which gate Israel is getting most of their scientific sponsorship. Who call Israel the super tech global giant? And that person's policies Israel seems to be implementing now. So has they begun? I don't know. But green certificate vaccines have begun in Israel. But the alternative media are saying the death rates among Israel's elderly generation are above 70. After the COVID-19 vaccine has increased 44%. And world over there are reports of women losing the child, miscarriages. Some have been doctors. So what happened to doctors get reported, what happened to other people don't get reported. So you need to know that there are fake prophets in the religious realm and there's fake science in the scientific realm. That's how the world is tuning up. So it is good to have wisdom, good to have knowledge from sources that will not cook the knowledge you already have. This I insist, be it medicine, be it science, economics, politics, family life. Don't give up your sources of knowledge that you grew up with, that you knew to trust, to new sources of knowledge. That is dangerous, yes. Keep your old science, old medical science, old pathology, old immunology, of course update it with knowledge. So we knew vaccines prevent infection, correct? BCG vaccine, one of the best, works on T-cell immunity. That's how Sri Lanka and other many Asian countries did not have that COVID deaths. England is leading COVID death rates because they give no early home treatment in spite of so much information. my timeline, Facebook, and my WordPress blog have continually given you updates on this. I will continue to do that. As some of you know that I was head of Department of Pharmacology in a state medical faculty. That's my primary training. But immunology was always an interest for me. So when vitamin D and zinc can give 88% risk reduction, as proved in Spain in 2 provinces, Cordoba and Andalusia, why should we have something else? So there must be another agenda. But that is besides the talk today. I want to get back to the harvest of life, life of harvest. So the point I made now is that keep your old sources of knowledge going. So Matt Hancock, UK Secretary of Health, is saying you will have to get a vaccine every 6 months. Bill Gates is already saying that they are going for a 3rd shot to include the variants. And here is a bombshell. WHO is now saying, when they did the investigation in August 2020, they found that in 2019 December, Wuhan already had 19 variants. Yes, you can read it out. WHO is now saying, because Biden is getting WHO friendly, WHO may be shifting allegiance, That's my take on it. WHO may be shifting allegiance now back to US because they are promising to fund. But check this out, 19 variants were already in circulation 2019 December in Wuhan. So when mutants pop up, variants pop up, and they are saying they are doing mutations, but Manchester University did a study, check it out, that these variants may be coming from original sources. That's right. Now MHRA is trying to say, if there's going to be changes in the vaccine, which is mRNA vaccine, no need for clinical trials. Did you hear that? MHRA, Medical Health Regulating Authority, UK, is saying if they want to do changes to the mRNA structure of the mRNA vaccine, that there's no need for clinical trials because clinical trials have been done already. Got it? Difficult to believe, isn't it, that people will talk like this. But this is supposed to be the new science, fake science. So we are asked to give up our understanding of vaccine. Vaccines were meant to stop infections. But here is a vaccine that claims to reduce the disease severity, which means you anyway get the disease. So why should you take it? What does it prevent? Got the logic? Yeah, it's simple logic. So vaccines have to be T-cell based. They are only talking about the antibody response. They are not even telling us whether the antibody response is neutralizing antibodies or non-neutralizing antibodies. So what will the engineering of the mRNA further do? Will it produce the spike protein differently? Will that make different antibodies that can attack different parts of our own body, creating cytokine storm and autoimmune diseases, as Dr. Peter Whelan, a specialist on this? And what is this COVID-19 vaccine producing the multiple inflammatory COVID syndrome? What is it? Why are people dying suddenly of it? So there are a lot of immunological research that has to go into this, but at least we have to insist. If the mRNA is going to be engineered again for a 3rd shot, full rolled out clinical trials have to be done. Yes. Recently 2 rats were in a conversation. One rat said, "Macham, that's a Sri Lankan colonial, did you get the vaccine?" The other rat said, "No, Macham, they are trying it out on humans first." You got it? Yeah. This is a rushed one like that. So get your science right. This is not an anti-vax talk. Keep your scientific knowledge. Don't compromise, because the market and the pharma is saying it. And one more note on the UK MHRA. They are the ones who stopped the Oxford recovery trial having hydroxychloroquine. They started with hydroxychloroquine, wrong dose, humongous dose. That should have killed anybody, but it didn't. It was given late, and they pronounced hydroxychloroquine did not have effect, but they stopped it halfway based on the false trial that Lancet published by Sugisphere database. So there's a history of hydroxychloroquine was criminalized again and again so that deaths may continue, so that vaccine may be rushed. So that's the narrative, and it is still continuing. So this is not an anti-vax talk. I don't talk this generally because only people with some specialized knowledge will understand that I am speaking scientific fact. So there's fake science and there is science. So sadly, those who are 45-year-old professors who are running departments, running clinical trials, you check out on Google their financial connections. That's right. Check it out. Check it out on Google, who is funding them in their data companies. They all have their separate companies and money comes into that. So that's part of my former field, pharmacology. So, but let's get back to the harvest of life. So I asked the question, are you the Lord of your life? Or do you think there should be a good shepherd in your life? So there is a coordination of all fields of human enterprise and opportunity. So there's a saying, man's extremity is God's opportunity. What does it mean? To steer the course in a designed way is where we get the best for our life. To allow it to have the law of the jungle is what global oligarchs are doing. They are rapaciously taking over all economic sources of all nations, and 10 of them over 1 year have amassed $3.5 trillion US over 1 year. Never has been such a huge amassing and concentration of wealth in the hands of a few. What did it? COVID did it. That's right. So the continuing saga of shutdown, lockdown, small businesses shutting down, and e-giants getting it all. So that's part of the way the harvest of life has gone. Then I want to just look at this, lastly, the parable. I spoke about the seed bag. So the first scenario of seed bag and sowing is trampled soil, unprepared soil. What ran through your life in your experience? I spoke about sexual purity, how it affects hardening of heart. So when kids are just 10 years old and they are taught transgender, they are taught LGBTQI, their identities are destroyed, and more than 50% of kids in the West grow in single-parent home or sponsored homes. When a child goes to that kind of sexual travesty, you are developing a market for pedophiles. Yeah, that's what's happening. That's what research shows. Children of such families get exposed to a lot of sexual tragedy very early in life. Can you imagine what we in our scientific age has done to kids? It's a travesty. It's a tragedy. Yes. So this is about the soil that has got hard. Then what happens is our own kids trample the good seed in their life. So what can we do as a senior generation? How can we help the 40-year-old dad and mom who are both into their career and they feed the child on the digital screen? Now digital screen has increased because of online studying, but even before that, how can we help the 40-year-old to know that their best investment is their child? Can you answer that question for yourself? So the trampling, and then birds of the air, all kinds of alien influences, the raven influence I call it. They see what shall I say? They see rotten stuff. They see things ready for the pig. You know what the raven is like? They quack, 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 make a lot of sound. In our language, you call it kaput-kak, and they all gather. And when there's a kaput-kak, going, we know there is some rotten stuff being developed for tearing up, and that's the spirit that is going on. I call them the birds of the air. The second kind, the ground that looks good on the soil surface, but hard inside. That is also what the digital screen and the present day non-parenting doing. This is happening in all fields, not only parenting. When seniors are no more benefactors, excuse me, there are no role models. It's a vast survival of the fittest. Tough, when the going gets tough, tough get going, the philosophy that goes, and might is right. Then there's hardness underneath, and facades, and very nice mannerisms, beautiful faces, all that goes on in the surface. So the seed drops, and after a while there's no room for roots to go up. So they show it on the outside, a lot of branches, a lot of exhibition, a lot of expression, a lot of social media, no roots, they die young. I'm not saying literally and physically, which is happening with COVID and with sexually transmitted diseases, but metaphorically also, they have died young. What does it mean? They are so young, but inside them, dead people walking in zombies, they can do anything. That is 60% maybe digital contribution, and 40% maybe the seniors, parents included, had no bonding, and there was no good shepherd in the picture. We did it our way. Nice on the surface, hard soil, hard rock inside. Third scenario is two things are growing. Its soil is okay, but as much as the good seed is growing, thorns are growing, and people juggle this, careers, second car, fantastic holidays in another land, what they live for. Then the spas go on, and the young husbands go there, young women go there, and the spa culture, Colombo was full of it before COVID. Now it is resuming, that culture, the cruise ship, what that culture was. So it was, here how I see it. After the Second World War, God gave the world a reprieve. I'm using God language, or you may use your sociological language if you are so inclined. So from 1950 to 1975, world was back again on bounce, and economies could have grown, nations could have grown, generations could have grown, professions could have grown. But what happened was, from 1975 onwards, we started a consumerist extravaganza of consuming things we don't need. So that's where I bring this, the harvest of thorns, while the harvest of good was also going on. And by 2010, we knew something has gone wrong, because thorns were more than the edible harvest, so to say. In fact, more than the food industry, all health was made into illness industry. So diseases were concocted so that drugs may have more circulation, more earnings in every field. So armament became first in the world, GDP, motor industry, fashion industry, computer industry, IT, then cosmetics, toys, confectionaries, pharmaceuticals. These became the major consumerist extravagance. And the entertainment, the hospitality and the entertainment industry, these became 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Food went into ninth place. So for me, manipulation of food, all that is going on. You need to read my Einstein's Fourth World War, clip number 153 in English, clip number 154 English and Sinhala vernacular. I'm sorry I can't do everything in Tamil. I try to get something out in English and Tamil also for our country. That is important. So third scenario, so much of thorns grew to the extent that the edible fruit ran down, and we are at that point of at that point of critical, critical limit, isn't it? How much more thorns can grow, and the fruit is completely submerged. We are at that point when people fix immunity, and people start meddling with immunity. It's not like creating diseases like syndromes like ADHD. It is not like the statin myth that Jupiter trial created. It is not like the criminalization of aspirin, just the way they criminalize hydroxychloroquine. I'm published on PubMed on these things. Please do Google search on BL J Mendis is my full name, or Lalith Mendis. Sometimes it comes as BL Mendis. Then you will see what I'm talking is published. There's scientific background for the science part of it. Of course, I'm doing extended reason out of it. That's what I'm doing in talks like this. So this world has become a thorn field that is overcoming the good ground more and more. The fourth option is those few who said, let my life be noble ground for good harvest only. That remnant is fast dwindling in science, in religion, in politics, in economics, in every field. So I come back, Lord of the harvest, who is it? Can you do this on your own? Or do we need a good shepherd and get his understanding of how he designed life? So I want to stop here. I hope this was helpful. So think of the harvest of life and the life of harvest. And the most important thing is children are our best investment. Thank you for listening.